All right, so this is correlation part 3. So Nate, are you into cars?
Not especially.
Anybody into cars in here? Nobody likes cars in here?
I like cars.
You like cars?
I like cars.
Yeah, I'm not all around.
Okay. All right, Mike, are you into cars?
Yes, sir.
You are. Mike, the longer I own a car, what happens to the value of that car?
It decreases.
It decreases. Do you know what that's called?
No.
It's called depreciation. So, Mike, we know here, the longer I hold my car, all right, so the longer, which means like that's an increase in years, right, Ava? Increase in years. The value does what, Ava? Down. So what type of correlation is talking about as one increases, the other decreases? Positive, negative, or no correlation? Negative correlation. So before even starting here, we kind of know this is going to be like negative correlation, right? Okay, or at least that's what I'm suspecting. I'm trying to predict what my data is going to look like. My intuition tells me, because I kind of have a little knowledge of cars, I'm not as well versed as Mike, but the longer I own a car, the less it's worth, the more it's been used, right? You're not going to buy a used car for $50,000. It's not the way it works, okay? So we have two pieces of data, age of a car and value of the car. And I have two axes, X and Y. Chucky, what's going to go on the X-axis? The age. So everybody, let's write down here, age. And that's going to be measured in years. And then what's going to go on this axis, Chucky? Value. All right. And that's in thousands of dollars, right? Okay, so I labeled my axes. Now we have to figure out what are we going to count by, Maddie? So we have to figure out how many blocks do I have? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Do you see how I have 14 blocks, Maddie? Yeah. Now, what is my smallest age and largest age on my years? What's the smallest age? 1. What's my largest? 8. So if I have 14 blocks, what do you think I should count by? Should I count by like 2s? Should I count by like 5s? 1s. I agree. So let's count by 1. So I'm going to put 0 here. And then we're going to count by 1s. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You get the point. So I wrote all the way out to 14. Joey, are you getting this? Our favorite word. Yeah. What's that?
I can put that on.
Oh, okay. And now you gotta count my blocks going up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I have 14 again. What's my smallest value? For 7. And what's my largest value? 24. If I have 14 blocks and I need to have 7 to 24, which should I count by? What should I count by 1s? Will I be able to get all the way up to 24 if I count by 1s? No, I should count by 2s. So let's count by 2s. So 2, 4, 6, 8, Who do we appreciate? So, thank you. Like that, set it up myself. All right, so you get the point. So we got all the way up to 28. Now I need to plot these points. Ava, you all good? So we need to plot 1 and 24. So we're going to go to 1 and 24. 2 and 21, that's going to be halfway between 20 and 22. 3 and 19. 4 and 18. 5 and 15. 6 and 12. 7 and 8. And 8 and 7. So, Grace, when we're looking at these points, they're pretty much in a line, right? They're pretty close to being in a line. And that's what I expected to see. And we talked about at the beginning with Mike was as 1 went up, the years I own it went up, the value went down. And that was what, Ava? Negative correlation. But the other thing we notice here is that it's pretty tightly knit, Tyler. All the points are pretty close together. There's a little blips, right? Like right here, we're going down pretty close in a straight line. And then all of a sudden, we got like a drop right there. I'm not saying it's an outlier, okay? Because it's not like, yeah, it's not an insane amount. Like in 1 year, I went from 12,000 to 8,000. Like, yeah, that seems like a lot of money. But when you think about it, when you own a car for 7 years, eventually you are going to have a decent drop, right? And why might a car lose its value? What might happen? It might get dings and dents, right? If you live in the city, right? Okay, cars get dinged and dented every day, right? Because people don't care. We try to pull into a parking spot, they pull up, they hit your bumper, all right, they might push your car a little bit just to get that more space. They don't really care, they just want the parking spot. So maybe you live in the city, therefore that's going to reduce the value of your car, okay? Maybe you have some rust, maybe that's why your car goes down. Other things, what happens, Nate? The longer you own a car, what are you putting on the car? What is that called? Miles, right? And wouldn't we agree that 100,000 miles sounds like a lot, but 95,000 miles doesn't sound that much, right? But really, there's no difference between 95,000 and 100,000 in terms of car. But let's think about it this way. 100,000 miles, it's a big milestone, right? For a car. I feel when you have a car and it goes to 100,000 miles, well, all of a sudden it's an old car, right? To me, it's like an old car. Make sense to you guys? Maybe year 6 to 7, we went from like 75,000 miles to like 98,000 miles. Maybe we're getting close to that 100,000 mile mark. Right? Do you see where I'm getting at here? Now, we have all this information we were able to pull from this, okay? And now what we need to do is we need to put this information into our computer. All right, we need to put it into the calculator. Here's why. I don't know how much I purchased the car for. I'm going to ask us to figure out how much did we buy the car for. That piece of information is not up here, right? Notice there's nothing at zero. It's after 1 year of owning it, it's $24,000. You can make a guess, Chucky. You could take this line and you could draw it back and you could see it's probably going to be around $26,000, right? But we need to be exact with it. Okay, maybe you're working for a company that's predicting, right, the original cost of cars or predicting the cost of a car in like 10 years. Does that make sense? So let's go ahead and put this into our calculator. Remember, let's all go to the Calculate app. Okay, we go to Stat. Everybody hit Stat. Then we're going to hit Enter on Edit, and it brings us up to our list. We're going to go up to the top where it says L2. We're going to hit Clear and then Enter. We're going to go to L1. We're going to hit Clear, then Enter. All right. Ava, you good? Still trying to figure it out? All right, one more time. Did you turn on the app? Hit Stat. It's by the arrows. You see that? Then hit Enter on Edit. Does your screen look like this?
Yeah, my screen. Oh, wait, never mind.
I'm gonna be like, you guys can figure out Snapchat, how to put filters on, Instagram, TikTok.
It's fine if you add.
I didn't add any numbers yet. I said to hit Stat, then Enter. Oh, dude, there's more buttons on Snapchat.
Not really, is it?
2 buttons on and off.
Yeah.
Unreal. All right. In L1, we're going to enter in 1, enter, 2, enter, 3, enter, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Your first column should read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Annie, are we getting this? All right, well, let's make sure we get this down. Chucky, we good? Do we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 entered? All right, L2. We're going to put in 24, enter, 21, enter, 19, enter, 18, enter, 15, enter, 12, enter. Notice 6 and 12 are matching up here and here. 8, enter, 7, enter. Ava, let me know when you got all of that in. All in? Okay. Kimmy, you doing okay? Grace? All right. Now, we need to go to the blue button, second, and Y equals. Those of you who were with me yesterday, yours might still be on. Your plot needs to be on. If it's not on, we're going to hit enter on number 1, brings us to this screen, and we're going to go from off where it's blinking to on, and we hit enter. Okay. And we don't touch anything else. And now we're going to hit the word graph. Notice nothing comes up. So we're going to go to zoom. And we're going to go all the way down to number 9, which is zoom stat. And we hit enter on zoom stat. Does this data on your screen look like the data on the graph? Pretty close, right? Tyler, you with me?
Fine.
Where are you?
Like, the step back.
Did,
I got entered, but.
did you hit the blue button?
I hit six.
Yep. Then the Y equals, the one above it. Does your plot say on?
Yeah.
All right, then hit the word graph. Did anything come up?
I go blue.
All right, hit zoom, which is on the top row, right? Then we're going to go down to number 9. And it says zoom stat, correct?
Yep.
Hit enter.
Okay.
We're there?
Yep.
All right. Notice my dots look the same, right? They look pretty similar. Right, Chucky? John? Maddie? Your dots look the same? Okay. Now, we're going to hit the word stat again. Now we need to calculate. So we're going to go over to calc. Grace, do you remember this from yesterday? Which one do I go to? Number 4, because that looks like y equals mx plus b. So we're going to go down to number 4. We're going to hit enter. And then we just hit enter a bunch of times. And we're going to keep hitting enter till the screen changes. We all good? Few things on this screen. 1, M is A. Okay? Do you guys see that? M is A because A is in front of X and that's where M is. Okay, I don't know why they call it A in this case. It's just what they do. I guess M was being used for something else. This other thing, R squared, you don't need to know what that is, Ava, but the closer that is to 1, the tighter your points are together, meaning the more accurate this line is. Would you say that that's pretty close to 1? Yeah, meaning this is as pretty close to a line as we can get. So let's write down our work. So we're going to write down y equals negative 2.4, should I call it 48 or 47? How should I round that? Anybody? 48. So we're going to write y equals negative 2.48 x plus, should I call it 0.64 or 0.65? 0.6 what? So which number do we use to round? All right, so I'm rounding to 2 decimal places, right, Ava? So 2 decimal places. So let's look at the negative 2.47. 1, 2. That's 7 is the second one. So I'm going to look at this 6. If it's above 5, it rounds up. So the 7 would round up to an 8. 1, 2. So I'm looking at the 4. So that means I'm going to look at the 2. Is that above 5? So it rounds down to 4. Okay? Are you okay with that? Good question. There's a lot of decimals on there. And if you're looking at the 8, it's easy to see, to like misread that. Now, what does this all mean? Or what can I do with this? A couple things. What was this point? 26.64. It was called the what point? Started with the word S. Rhymed with tart. Starts with S. Start. This is our starting point. Chucky, do you remember that question I posed? How much is the car when I initially purchased it? And we looked at our graph and we said, hey, if I drew that line backwards, it would be around 26. What's that around? So this says, when I buy the car, remember my money's in thousands, so it'd be $26,640 is what I paid for the car. Does that sound reasonable for a car purchase? Now, if we look at this, I buy it at the start for $26,640, and after 8 years, it's worth how much? It's a pretty big drop, right? Do you see that? So that's why some people prefer to lease their car over purchase their car. I'm a purchaser. I like, it's mine. I get to keep it. Okay, I just bought a car in 2019 for roughly $24,000. Okay. So at the end of like year 8, okay, I'll have my car paid off in 6 years. But at the end of year 8, I could anticipate my car being worth like $7,000, $8,000. Okay, but it's my car. With leasing, well, you pay for the car for the first couple years, and then you give it back to the dealership. Okay, and they get to keep it, and they can sell it or do whatever they want. All right, do you guys see that? You guys okay with it? You sure? All right. Does everybody see this? This line we wrote? Guys, come on. Nate, do you see this line we wrote? All right, we're going to go back to our calculator. And we're going to type that in. So everybody hit y equals. And we're going to type in negative 2.48 x plus 26.64. X is right here next to the green button.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, you got to delete that out.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. And now we're going to hit this word graph. And notice, what did it do? It put a line in there. That line is called line of best fit. What I can do, Ava, is I can use that line to predict the cost of my car at any year, right? Now, Ava, we have numbers through all the way up through 8, right? I owned my car for 12 years. Okay. And then it broke, it died. It was sad. Okay. Its name was Lunchbox. All right. So what I want you to do, Ava, is I want you to go back, hit the blue button, and I want you to hit the word graph. And it brings us to a table. Chucky, you doing it? Blue button and graph. On here, it tells me a lot of things. One, when I buy my car, year 0, I paid $26,640. Now, if I want to know how much my car will be worth in 12 years, you simply scroll down to 12. Ava, can you scroll down to 12 and tell me what my car will be worth? Huh. That doesn't make sense, does it? No, why doesn't it make sense? Well, it doesn't make sense because a negative number means like I would owe money for my car, right? Which sort of makes a little bit of money because I'm dumping more money into my car than it's probably, worth, right? So maybe for me, right around year 10 or 11, I'm looking to get a new car because now it's costing me more money than it's actually worth.
Oh, like money.
Money to fix it. Okay. Do you know how, like, maybe your parents, aunts or uncles, friends, nephews, whatever, cousins, okay, when they're looking to get a new car and they've had their car for a long time, they always talk about, they're like, oh, it's costing me more than it's worth. Have you ever heard that? John, you've heard that? That's because at a certain point, your car is not worth money anymore. You're actually putting more money into your car than it's worth. And you have to figure out, well, where is that point? Is it worth getting a new car and not having a headache for years? Or should you, put a couple grand into your car? Okay. And for most people, and Mrs. Mooney, doesn't that occur between like right here, right around 10, 11, or 12 years? You always start looking for a new car. Because something goes, because of the rust, because of the dings or nuts, because of electrical problems. Okay. Now I can tell you guys are real excited about this problem. I like these problems. I think it's like more practical because we spent almost the entire class talking about one problem, right? We learned a lot from it. Okay. But what's going to be really sad is when I give like, you know, a pop quiz on this. We don't know how to put it in our calculator. It's going to be sad. It's going to feel so.
So many steps.
It is a lot, but I mean, some people. Not talking about Maddie. Talking about
Those are funny either.
Annie Ann's nickname.
Oh,
All right.
you didn't do the homework. You didn't get the whole nickname. Yeah.
No, I give you one. Annie Ann. All right. So there we go. All right, let's go back to here. Did we answer all the questions? We made a scatter plot. Yes. Can the data be modeled by a line? Yes. It was negative correlation. Draw a line. We did that. We used our calculators. And then we didn't have to do number 4 because we allowed our calculator to do it. Any questions on this? Jules, are you good?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So, a lot of steps, right? Let's skip over the next problem. Let's go to here. Tyler, a lot of steps, correct? All the steps are written here for you. Okay, it tells you how to do everything. Got it? So if and when I decide to give you a quiz on it, here are all the steps. Okay. Yep. So you can follow that along. Got it? All right. Yeah, I think yeah. I'm good with those. We don't need to do those. Those are all the ones we did in the other class. All right, I'm thinking, let's see. We'll probably go over the last problem of this tomorrow. And then I'm thinking maybe like a quiz. I guess next week on correlation. Got that, Joey? All right. It's not gonna be long, but there'll be like a good bit of questions you have to answer.